I am Katrin.leppik from University of Tartu, and I am presenting a study analyzing the production of Estonian quantity degrees produced by Spanish L1 learners of Estonian. The co-authors of this paper are Pärtel, Lippus and Liina. So first, I am going to give a short overview of second language acquisition theories, previous studies, and Estonian and Spanish phonology. Then I'll present the hypothesis and the material and method of this study that will be followed by results and conclusions. As you know, there are many second language acquisition theories and models. The majority of these models, for example, perceptual assimilation model and speech learning model, are focusing on speech sounds. And these models assume that in the acquisition process, perception precedes production. The feature hypothesis focuses on the acquisition of phonological contrasts and proposes that the learner's first language interferes with the acquisition of second language, and the success depends on the role of duration in the first language. To test the feature hypothesis, a Swedish quantity distinction study with Spanish, English, and Estonian speakers was conducted. The results showed that the Estonian L1 speakers' performance was similar to Swedish speakers, while the Spanish and English speakers different from natives. The study confirmed the feature hypothesis and showed that the learner's first language influences the acquisition of second language. There are few studies that have focused on the production of Estonian quantity degrees by non-native speakers. Studies conducted with Russian, Finnish, Latvian, and Japanese speakers have shown that it is challenging for Estonian L2 learners to master the Estonian quantity system, especially the distinction between vocalic long and overlong quantity. The temporal pattern selected for long and overlong quantity depends on learner's first language. The Estonian three-way quantity system consists of short, long, and overlong quantity degrees, which operate over trisyllabic sequence. The Estonian quantity contrast is carried by the vowel of the stressed syllable or by the intervocalic consonant. This presentation focuses on words where the contrast is based on the duration of vowels, for example, sada, saada, saada. The Estonian quantity system combines durational and tonal components. The duration of stressed syllable vowels increases with quantity. In the figure 1, the gray color marks the stressed syllable, and the duration of unstressed syllable decreases. Unstressed syllable is marked with white in figure 1. The changes in duration contribute to establishing the differences in the ratio between the syllables. In addition to temporal differences, the fundamental frequency is a decisive factor in distinguishing between long and overlong quantity. In general, long and overlong quantity have similar temporal patterns, but in overlong words, the F0 starts to fall early during the first syllable, as illustrated in figure 1. In Spanish, on the other hand, there is no phonological length of position, and duration acts as main correlate of stress. So based on previous findings, it is expected that Spanish L1 speakers are unable to distinguish Estonian long and overlong quantity. In Spanish L1 production, the quantity alteration involves only stressed vowel, and the learners do not produce the temporal and tonal patterns characteristic to Estonian. The participants' length of residence is expected to have a positive effect on the production. The participants of this study were 22 native speakers of Spanish, 11 males and 11 females. The participants were from different Spanish-speaking countries, 11 from Spain, 5 from Colombia, 4 from Mexico, and 2 from Honduras. The participants were between 20 and 46 years old. All participants were exposed to Estonian, but they differed in the length of residence and duration of studies. As a control group, the native speakers of Estonian were recorded. The learners participated in a reading task. All participants were instructed to read sentences from computer screen. The sentences were presented in a random order, and all participants read the same sentences. Each sentence contained consonant, vowel, consonants, vowel, constructed test words. For example, sada, saada, saada. There were in total 81 sentences, and all the test words formed triplets of quantity. Now let's take a look at the results. Figure 2 presents the duration of stressed and unstressed syllable vowels. Native speakers' results are marked with green, and learners' results are in blue. In general, the Spanish L1 speakers produce all Estonian vowels with longer duration compared to native speakers. Focusing on stressed syllable vowels, we can see that Spanish L1 speakers differentiate short vowels from long, but they do not distinguish long and overlong vowels. The long and overlong vowels have similar durations. In comparison, in native speakers' production, there are clear differences over the quantity degrees, and the duration of stressed syllable vowels grows with quantity. Analyzing the production of unstressed syllable vowels, it is clear that Spanish L1 speakers do not produce any temporal differences in duration, while in native speakers' production, the unstressed syllable vowel duration shortens with quantity. The syllable ratio is a feature used to describe the Estonian quantity. The Spanish L1 speakers and native speakers' values are presented in Table 1, and according to the linear mixed effects model, the Spanish L1 speakers' short quantity ratio differs significantly from long, but the differences between long and overlong quantity ratio is not significant. The long and overlong quantity temporal pattern produced by Spanish L1 speakers is similar to Estonian long quantity. To sum up the results, it can be said that Spanish L1 speakers have acquired short and long distinction, but not the three-way distinction. In addition to vowel duration, the fundamental frequency is an important feature distinguishing long quantity from overlong. Figure 3 presents the F0 produced by native speakers on the left and by Spanish L1 speakers on the right. Green color marks short, blue marks long, and violet marks overlong quantity. The vertical line marks the point where F0 starts to fall. The blocks at the bottom of the figure indicate the duration of stressed and unstressed syllable vowels by quantity degree. In native speakers' production, the F0 of overlong quantity starts to fall early in the stressed syllable, while the F0 of long quantity falls in the second half of the syllable. In Spanish L1 production, the F0 fall of long and overlong quantity are very close to one another, and the F0 of long quantity falls earlier than the F0 of overlong quantity. So in other words, the Spanish L1 speakers do not use F0 to differentiate long quantity from overlong. Now let's see how the participants' length of residence influences the results. To test the effect, several linear mixed effects models were fitted. Participants' length of residence was divided into 3 groups to make the visualization easier. The color in the figure marks the quantity degree. First, the stressed syllable vowels. Here, the participants' length of residence did not have a statistically significant effect on the duration. However, in case of unstressed syllable vowels, the participants who have lived in Estonia for a longer period produced shorter unstressed syllable vowels, and the effect was statistically significant. Regarding the syllable duration ratio, the length of residence as a main factor was statistically not significant. However, the interaction of short quantity and length of residence was significant. In addition to durations, the effect of length of residence was tested also on F0 turning point, and the effect was statistically significant, as is shown in Table 2. The longer the participant's length of residence, the earlier the F0 turning point of overlong quantity. So this presentation focused on the production of Estonian quantity degrees by Spanish L1 speakers. The results show that Spanish L1 speakers have developed two categories, short and long, instead of three, short, long, and overlong. The Spanish L1 speakers do not distinguish between long and overlong quantity. In their production, the long and overlong vowels have similar durations, syllable duration ratios, F0 contours, and turning points. In other words, Spanish L1 speakers do not use vowel duration and F0 to differentiate the Estonian long quantity from overlong. As expected, the participants' length of residence had a positive effect on some features, such as unstressed syllable duration and F0 turning point of overlong quantity. Thank you for watching this presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email or Skype message and I will be happy to answer you. Thank you.